Welcome. This is episode 1 of Two Souls.
Yes.
I am one of your souls, Marco, one of the co-hosts, and this is my second soul here, Giorgio, the other co-host. And today, following off of last week, we just kind of gave a little rundown what the podcast is, and this week we're going to be getting into it, which means we have some news.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff in store for you. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you thought the last one was good, hold your drinks, okay? Because this next one's going to get really good. Get yourself something to eat, a little beverage or something.
Wet your whistle, as it were.
Yeah, it does help with the whistling. So we'll just get into this. We're going to start with our news. There's been some interesting news that's happened in this world of games. I'll take the first one.
Yep.
Okay. So there's a new PS5 model that was announced. Okay, this is some 3 years after the release of the PS5. And as we all know, it's a majestic tower. The architectural magnificence. Okay, and now we're getting a smaller one. So it's the same tech.
Still looks like a modem.
It actually looks more like a modem because it's smaller. And it's got an attachable Ultra HD Blu-ray that goes to it now. So instead of it being...
So it's just like digital normally.
Well, it's like digital normally, and then they've got the one that comes with it already. But if you have the digital, you can buy like the add-on, which is nice.
Yeah, it's a nice option.
So the specs that PlayStation gave us is that it's been reduced by 30% volume. It's 18% less heavy. And about overall 24% less PS5 compared to the older models, but all the same goodness. And the cool thing is that the price is the same. Okay, and you get 1 terabyte of storage now.
Yes,
which is pretty awesome. This
is nice.
This was what, 500?
It's way too little, dude.
I tapped that out like
games are huge now.
God forbid you download a Call of Duty. That's like if you got your Warzone.
I will say at least they've given options to like keep the update more size conscious, but like it's still huge, dude.
They're not calling it a slim or anything. Some people are saying that it's a slim. I reread the release materials. It just says new model. So this is going to be the PS5 moving forward.
Yeah, I think I don't think you're going to be able to find like the original one anymore, really.
Yeah, but by
at
definition,
least in the next few years, probably.
By definition, it is slimmer.
Yes.
So anyway, that's your PlayStation 5 news. So
secondly, in our news, John Riccitiello steps down as CEO of Unity after pricing battle. Now this is by GamesBeat, the games journalist site.
We all know about this one.
GamesBeat, dude, they're huge. Quote from their article is, Unity said in press release that James M. Whitehurst has been appointed interim CEO and president of the company. Mr. Whitehurst, who previously served as senior advisor and president at IBM, per Business Wire announcement. And then another quote is Roloff Botha. Everyone knows this guy.
Yeah.
He is the lead independent director of the Unity board and has been appointed chairman. Riccitiello, the previous CEO, will continue to advise Unity to ensure a smooth transition. The news, obviously, this isn't really a surprise. The whole Unity thing happened recently where they tried to price hike it all for devs who are getting a lot of downloads. And when people extrapolated those numbers and some of the
games, cost millions for
small companies. It costs millions for a little indie studio, and so that got a lot of people pretty pissed off. Yeah. And
rightfully so.
They pretty quickly retracted that whole thing, that whole statement.
They walked it right back.
They walked it right back, right from where it came from, because it's a freaking stupid idea, dude. What did they expect, dude?
More money.
That being said, one of my most anticipated games, Gloomwood, is actually being developed in Unity. So, please be praying for them and their development as they go through this difficult time.
It's a lovely looking game. Yeah.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Now, in less grim news, if you're playing StarField on that PC and you're thinking, I'd like some more field of view, they added sliders. It's pretty cool, right?
It's it should have been there from launch.
Yeah, dude. But Bethesda said they released, they have sliders. They have a couple performance updates for those of you who are on the Intel Arc GPU architecture. If you're out there, put ones in the comments, please, because I'd like to meet some of you. It's a fairly new GPU, yeah. And then there's, a quest fix. So you're having some problems with Echoes of the Past. It's been addressed, so that's good.
Yep.
Yep.
Dude, like going through this, you gave me the longest freaking news ones. you just take the even.
Those, yeah.
All right.
It's like the easy ones.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you just take like the even numbers.
It's because I wanted 7.
All right. Next in our news, The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 staff unionize after 3 waves of layoffs at CD Projekt Red this year. This is by Games Radar. In a statement with Game Dev Union, translated by Eurogamer, the union explains that they started talking about unionizing after the 2023 wave of layoffs, when 9% of CD Projekt Red's employees, that's roughly 100 people, were let go. And this was late in July, and the publisher said the layoffs would help the teams become more agile and more effective after being overstaffed. Which, this is all good, because a lot of the problems with Cyberpunk in particular in its launch was, like, company-wide, like, problems in the management. And according to the union statement, the above shows how employers tend to view their interests to be in conflict with those of their employees, while employees are ones creating value in this arrangement. They lack any decision power in company structure-related matters. This is why we need to organize and enter those situations on equal footing. Again, like I said, like, it was a huge problem. Like, the game shouldn't have come out when it came out.
A lot of devs spoke about that, too.
Yeah, they rushed it, and that's why it came out so, like, honestly, like, horribly. It launched really bad. And, this is all good. They continue saying, we believe the mass layoffs are a danger to the game dev industry, and we believe that unionizing is a way for us to preserve the industry's potential. And then as Eurogamer notes, the CD Projekt Red staff will join the nationwide union OZZIP, which is inviting video game industry staff from across Poland to join. That means that CD Projekt Red staff overseas, such as those working in Vancouver office, aren't covered by the union. The company's management is supposedly aware of the union, but has yet to respond. So this is another big thing, because it's like the reason why it launched the way it did was because there was a lot of talk with like investors that were investing a lot of money, and on like the top level down, they're like pushing them to release it because they're like, we want to get our payback. We've invested all this money. You guys are still working on it. And then top down, they're like, okay, well, if we cut these things off and we trim this off and then we get rid of that, we'll be able to release the game and actually get some money back on it. But, like, the game wasn't really, like, close to being done, like, by any stretch of the imagination. And I think that shows a lot in, like, the, just the length of the game. Like, the game's super short. Like, the main campaign's super short. The world didn't have, like, a lot of, like, very unique, like, quests to do or missions or whatever. And then there was just a ton of bugs with the game. Like, even, like, just vehicle AI for NPCs, like, that wasn't working. Police didn't work properly. And a lot of this, like, isn't the fault of the devs. It's the fault of just, like, the management of the whole thing. And so them laying them off and all that, it's like, if that starts setting a precedent in companies, it's like, dude, we're going to keep getting releases like this, Yeah. So I think this is all good,
Yeah, the shareholders are really pushing all of the development.
Yeah, I wish the best for CD Projekt Red and all that.
Because from what I understand, too, is that it's not just the company. That's one part of it, but, like, the government, the Polish government's, like, actually really involved.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of interest in how CD Projekt Red does, because that is bringing in a lot of revenue for the whole country of Poland.
Yeah,
so.
CD Projekt Red is, like, I think for like reference, like, they're one of the highest grossing companies in all of Poland.
Yeah.
So it's like it's understandable that the government's going to get involved in stuff to some regard. And obviously you can imagine the kind of people investing even in this company in Poland. So it's like, this is all good, I wish them the best. I hope they're able to, have more time for the second one that they're working on already.
A lot of talented devs there.
Yeah.
And we don't like hearing that people aren't being taken care of very well. So
yes.
Now I got a short one for you. For those of you who purchased that Gollum game, I'm sure that you had a lot of fun with it amidst the bugs and So
And Gollum.
and Gollum himself. It's got problems. And I'm sure you remember the good faith statement that the development studio issued. Well, apparently that was written by ChatGPT, according to Video Games Chronicle. So yeah, there's a little tidbit for you.
A little nugget.
A little nugget.
Next, Counter-Strike 2 has become Valve's worst-rated game ever. This is by Inside Gamer, or Inside Gaming. From hitbox issues to concerns with subtick structures of the servers, and from stripped-down platform overall to more cheaters than ever before, there are plenty of things that are irritating players as of late.
Darn those cheaters.
This is a quote from Inside Gamer. I think it's also just getting bad reviews and stuff too. And I don't know how many people like actually moved over to it. Simple, one of the pro players from the CS team or the CS community, was quoted saying that the players should not hop into CS2 for a few months while they fix all of the issues that they are encountering. Now, I've played CS2, we talked about it.
Talked about it on last cast.
Yeah. Well, I think it was before, but needless to say, like, it feels great, but like I did notice a couple things, albeit they're like not really like, they don't, to me at least, it didn't affect gameplay that much. But like I noticed it just even with like the no clip like camera. Like if you zoom all the way back up, like parts of the map don't like they don't what do you call it? They don't render at all.
Yeah.
And so it's just like you kind of like see through like stuff, and you can't really like properly see. Like if you're playing like casual, you can't really see where everyone's at. And obviously, it doesn't really like affect the game like crazy. Didn't affect me on my gameplay.
Well, you get to like a certain height, and then like you're like, okay, I see and I see nothing.
Yeah.
And then it kind of comes back.
So yeah, that's basically it.
What I was hearing too, and I do have a qualm with the release personally, is I want my arms race. Like I understand that they didn't want to add all the maps at once. I think that this was like a Band-Aid that needed to get ripped off, because after doing some more digging around, it's like, dude, this was on Source Engine 1 for a long time, and that's like a pretty old engine. So like, all right, let's update it. Let's get it to 2. That's good. But there's so many things to like test out and to fix. And so they're like, all right, let's launch it with like a set of maps, and let's strip down some of the different modes. And I get it. Like I understand it from like a game development standpoint, where they're like, all right, we got to like work this stuff out, like flesh it out. But I wanted my arms race. Where's arms race? I like arms race.
Rest in peace, arms race.
No, it's coming back. It's gonna come back. But we don't know how long that's.
I
gonna
didn't
take.
like how they were changing arms race. Did you notice that? Like for years, at least from what I've played, like it never. You would just go in and like it's basically gun game.
Yes.
And you're just doing that, and then within the last like year and a half or so, I went back to it, and like after a certain amount of kills, I'm getting like health stims.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
So you can like keep your run going longer.
Yeah, I remember one time playing with you, and you're like, "What's going on? I'm getting health stims."
I'm like, what the hell's this health stim?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a quality.
Doesn't change it a lot, but
this is what I'll say.
It doesn't feel right.
Is I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'll come back when Arms Race is back. That's how I
probably
play.
go back before that.
Yeah, me too. I'll probably play. Now this one's a kind of a chunky one, so I'm going to try to, break it down for all of you. So there was an interview on The Telegraph with Eiji Aonuma and Hidemaru Fujibayashi. For those of you who don't know, okay, this is the producer and then the director for Breath of the Wild, and then also for the newly released Tears of the Kingdom. This is Zelda. We're talking Zelda here, guys. Okay, so there's a lot of info that was in here. So I'm gonna kind of go through this, try to dig up the nuggets. So a big thing that Eiji Aonuma was talking about is he said that in the games in the series before Breath of the Wild, it's actually difficult to create a huge seamless world without any sort of load times. And so he was explaining it as like you walk into an area, and then that area would be loaded, and then you would go through some sort of gate or some sort of door, and it would load the other area. But none of it was loaded all at once. And so that's why there was a lot of designs the way that it was. And so the way that he explained like open worlds was that it was, let's quote, simply a giant dungeon without a roof where the lines of movement were fixed. And when he explains that, you start to think about it, it makes a lot of sense, actually. I like that, personally. Like, I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're great games. But I miss that that little bit of constraint. I didn't realize it was a technical constraint, so I found that kind of interesting. Now, Eiji Onuma described the freedom offered to players in navigating Breath of the Wild as a rebirth, where, quote, each player could make their own experiences rather than being led by the nose from one side to the next. He said, quote, they didn't create the game with the goal of differentiating it from other open world titles. Rather, I think it's the case where we made the game we wanted to, and this ended up being interpreted by the players as standing out from other games, end quote. So they weren't trying to make an open world game. It's just that they're like, we finally have the tech and like the power from the Switch to actually be able to do that.
Well, the power of the
and the Wii U as well.
That's what they developed.
Let's not forget about the Wii U that existed.
No, Wii U.
Funny story, little tidbit for all of you. You know, funny tidbit for all of you. I actually played Breath of the Wild the first time on the Wii U. So here's an interesting conundrum they found themselves in, is that since Breath of the Wild was so popular and there's so many people like playing Zelda that never played it before, they're like, all right, we brought in a lot of new players. How do we give them more? Like there's the diehards. There's the people that played like all the other Zeldas before, but there's all these new people and they came to Breath of the Wild and they're interpreting it as like, oh, this is an open world game. Like this has got like this freedom of movement and all. This is what Zelda is. Like, like I want more of that. Enter in all of like the crafting, you know, like that's technically the combining, because that's what it is really, you know, in Tears of the Kingdom and all of that, and then all of the other exploration. So they, you know, and slight spoiler for those of you who haven't played, but I mean, let's be honest, it's been out for a little bit. You've got all the Sky Islands that I was showing like in the promotional materials and all that. You still got Hyrule, kind of like in Breath of the Wild. And then you've got this whole underground area. And this adds a lot more just square footage to the game. And they did that on purpose because they were thinking like, okay, let's add more. And so a lot of the untapped potential for like DLC for Breath of the Wild, all those ideas that they had is what they implemented into Tears of the Kingdom. Okay. So Fujibayashi says that, quote, our concept for each of these areas was as follows. For the skies, we wanted players to have an exhilarating and happy experience. In the caves and on Hyrule, we wanted players to have an exciting experience of discovery and exploration. And in the depths, we wanted to have a different ecosystem from up on the surface. And rare items could be found, but we also have the strongest enemies of any area there. So players experience tension as they explore a space filled with the unknown. And then on the topic of the Sheikah Towers and Guardians, because it's a point of contention for a lot of people who played the game, like where did the Sheikah Towers go?
They don't like. I never remember them talking about what happened to those at all. And I'm like, dude, the Guardians were like huge and sitting on the top of like.
Well, hey, I got your answer, because Fujibayashi says that, quote, they disappeared after the Calamity was defeated and sealed, and that all of the people of Hyrule also witnessed this, but there's no one who knows the mechanism or reason why they disappeared. They don't know. How can the developers know? How can we know? And it's also considered a mystery. It is believed that since the Calamity disappeared, they also disappeared as their role had been fulfilled.
At least that satisfies me.
It works.
It satisfies me.
I'm okay with this. I didn't really care about the Sheikah Towers. I actually like the new stuff. I think it's cool. The Guardians
didn't make sense why they were gone.
I'm like, I like the elephant. He was cool. I don't remember his actual name. It's like Vaughn something or another. But he's cool.
Vaughn Naboru or something.
I think you're talking about the camel.
Is that whatever?
I don't know. That's the thing. I know them as the elephant, the camel, lizard thing, and then the bird. Everyone loves a bird. Fujibayashi says that he doesn't think this is known yet, but if you hold up a cuckoo, the little chickens from Zelda, and go near a Yiga, which are like that enemy clan that's in disguise, the cuckoo makes like a fuss and you can see through the Yiga's disguise. So the chickens can sniff out the villains.
Whoa.
There's a lot of mysteries that have yet to be found, apparently. They end the whole interview by saying no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom is planned, and they're moving on to a new Zelda map and everything for this next one.
I like that.
I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah,
like,
so
you and I've talked about it. Like, I think Breath of the Wild's like really good, and it's very different for Zelda, and it has like per what you're talking about with like those little like technical constraints, like there's like an elegance to what is there
Yeah. This is for Breath of the Wild.
for Breath of the Wild. And I remember like, and I was talking to you about this earlier, like I remember finishing that and wanting more. In other words, I liked it and they did a good job. I'm not
Yes.
preempting this like they did a bad job on this one, on Tears of the Kingdom or anything, because they really didn't. Like Tears of the Kingdom's really impressive for a lot of different reasons. Though I will say, for me, like, I feel like I got my fill and I'm like only halfway through. And I'm probably in a minority with this, but like, I feel like I got my fill and I'm like halfway through, and like it is so, like, part of me wants to say overcluttered, but I don't think that's necessarily the word. It's just it's so extensive, and there's like so much to the game that I think it kind of lost that elegance that Breath had. And I'm happy to see that they're going to go back to something hopefully a little smaller. Because the things that drew me to these two games, in particular Tears, was like the systems and how they work and all these technical things, which is like really, really, really impressive in the way that they actually pulled it off and stuff. But like, that's not necessarily what ever brought me to Zelda. And so these are kind of like weird outliers from the whole series, because like what drew me to it to begin with was not really what like I go to Zelda for.
It was the actual that more leading by the nose, coincidentally enough,
Yeah.
that for me is what made it a lot of fun as a kid. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
it wasn't that I couldn't figure it out. It was actually the process of figuring out like where they were leading me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like there was a different kind of sense of discovery. Like, no, don't get me wrong. Like, I love Breath of the Wild. I think that's like a beautiful game.
Yeah.
And Tears of the Kingdom, like, especially understanding what they're saying about it, like through this interview, because it's, for those of you who haven't read it, like, go to the Telegraph, read it. There's a lot more in here. These are the points that I thought were important to note. It's a very long interview. I'm not gonna say very long. It's a substantial interview. It's pretty chunky, but Tears of the Kingdom, knowing that they're setting out to A, satisfy the new Zelda fans, and then also B, to add more, they succeeded in spades. Like they did that over and over again. That being said, and my co-host knows this, I mentioned this a while ago when they showed the trailers. Not a big fan of crafting. Not a big fan of Sky Islands.
He doesn't like the build. He refuses.
I don't like the setup.
He refuses to build.
Listen, I build. Listen, I'm going to give you a little anecdote about a build that I did, okay? And granted, I know that there's probably going to be some critics in the comments that are like, well, stupid. Why'd you build it like that? And I'm like, no, I get you. You're right. I could have built it better. I learned a better way. But like, I was in the depths, okay? And I had to collect like these 3 like eye stones that I had dropped down from like the surface and collect them all, like, and take them to like one central location. Now, the distance that I dropped them from on the surface, and then also coincidentally in the depths as well, were pretty far. So
That map's huge.
I'm not
dude.
gonna like carry them like all individually to one place. I mean, you can, but that's kind of ridiculous. Like the signaling they're giving you is like, hey, why don't you build something? They've even got
This is a
those
side
like,
quest though, right?
This is a side quest. Even like one of they give you like the little like areas where they're like, why don't you build something? Look at all these pieces. And I'm like, all right,
There's so
let
many
me
spots in the
fashion something. So I fashioned something, and it was like this. It can get you around, kind of like, you know, it's like a thing with the wheels, and it's got the little steery thing, and I'm like, all right, I'll fuse everything to that, and I'll start hunting them down. Problem is you're in the depths and you can't see that far. I've got like this light on the front. I'm going all over the place. And like, long story short, the terrain is quite treacherous. And I ended up falling into a lake. Okay, and like, here's the thing, is things were difficult as I was getting around. I'm like, okay, this is tedious.
You're like, now I'm in water.
All right, like now I'm in. When I got in water, dude, the whole game changed, dude. I'm like, okay, I'm sinking. I got these eyes. I don't know where I'm gonna go get I don't have to go back. I'm like, let me attach like these little like propellers. Then it's like eating up my battery quicker. I'm starting to sink again. Like it was a whole mess, dude. I finally got out of the water, but like I'd fallen down deep enough into this like area
This lake.
where it became. Oh man, it took me 2 hours, dude. It took me like 2 hours to like figure out a way. And I was like, the whole time I'm like, I don't like this. Like, see, like this is not what I go to Zelda for. Now, granted, like that's one little experience because everything else I've experienced in the game is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's one little experience. But the thing I'll say is,
but my goodness, man,
it's it's pretty like straightforward, not Zelda in a lot of different ways. You know, like for me in my head, I always keep like Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom like kind of separate from the series. So it's like you ask me like, oh, what's your favorite Zelda? I'm like, oh, Twilight Princess. And it's like even more than Breath and like Tears, and I'm like, those are separate games. Those have Zelda stuff and it's in the Zelda world, but it's like kind of like very different.
It's kind of like Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass too.
I feel like those are more Zelda games than even Breath
they are, but in my head, I kind of put those off to the side too, where I'm like not like dismissing them, just like those are kind of
those are the DS games.
Those are their own little league, like that you can play in. But you know, that being said, check out the interview. Definitely check out Tears of the Kingdom. I personally like. It's a fantastic game, and there's a lot of moments of just pure wonder and like.
If you're getting a Switch, like Breath and Tears for their different reasons, I think are very worth checking out and playing and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we move on to our on the games. These are our topics.
Dude, I felt that, dude.
Dude, everyone's getting excited. Dude.
That was a shift, dude.
That was crazy, dude.
We're in a new space, dude.
This is a whole new
environment,
whole new thing. So we got a couple topics here. Why don't you take the first one?
Yes.
Open us up.
So
set the stage.
First one, I think, just to kind of touch on a little bit, because obviously it is a beta.
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 beta. That's our first game we're going to be talking about here, officially, on episode 1 on the games of Two Souls.
There's a lot of specificities.
Yeah, dude. So I played it a nice bit. I'm kind of bummed because I like missed the timings. I didn't read the timings properly, so I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to on the beta to like get more of a take. But like honestly, like especially with like the last few Call of Duties being like, I think like Cold War and Vanguard were the only ones in between these Modern Warfares. Like we've been getting a lot of this game for the last like 5 years or so, a little less than 5 years. So I was able to get a pretty good like taste and you know. Really just taste. I was able to get a good taste of the game.
You didn't get a full meal. You just kind of got a taste.
No, it's like a little appetizer. You know, it's like you're walking through Costco. You get a little.
You get your bits and bobs.
Yeah. So the things I can say about it for sure is movement feels a bit faster. Slide canceling is back, and from what I saw, even from when I played it to like this new beta that's going on, like this next little batch of time that people are getting, I believe it was slide to sprint is faster now. So basically you slide and then there's a little bit before you get out of it and you can sprint.
You can sprint again now.
Yeah, they shortened that so it's even faster now, which is nice. I think it feels good. Like honestly, all of these games feel good in their own right, like all of these new Modern Warfares. But I like how it's faster. It's different from Modern Warfare 2, which was trying to like slow it down a bit. Like they got rid of slide canceling and stuff like that. But though the movement's getting faster, because that's a distinction, the time to kill is a bit longer.
Yes.
Which kind of does feel good with it.
Yes.
It feels good with it. It's like really the Foley on like that little
ping.
That like like oh dude, it feels so good.
Yeah.
When you get headshots, dude.
I love the numbers. The way they change the numbers.
They're a little chubbier.
Whole new feel.
It feels great. I enjoyed it a lot. There's this new tactical aim with most of the automatic weapons from what I saw. I didn't see that I could do it with a shotgun or obviously any pistols or anything.
Why would you want to?
Or a sniper.
That'd be weird.
And from what I saw too, I don't know if it's a perk, but I saw in one of the trailers, there's like I don't even know what you would call it, but it's like a quick secondary, like for pistols, I think, like perk you can get where if you have your automatic out,
you just kind of hold it.
He'll like pull the gun just to the side and pull it out like on the side.
That's cool.
And so I'm assuming that's faster and that's supposed to be kind of like tactical aim, you know, kind of deal. But I think it's a perk because it didn't seem like that was just a mechanic. But the tactical aim, basically, you use like the canted aim where he just kind of like tilts the gun to the side.
Yeah.
And when you're in that mode, your ADS time is pretty noticeably faster.
Yeah.
though you don't zoom in as much, so you kind of got to use your reticle, but the reticle also does tighten up. Like, there's a lot of little parts to it, but like, for me, I'm like, this is faster and this is like really accurate.
Yeah.
So I used that a lot while I was playing, and it felt great. So I think that's a cool little like addition to it. I think a thing to say, going back to the movement real quick, the slides are also, they go further than in Modern Warfare 2 from what I remember.
Yeah.
They felt like they went further, they felt faster.
Just movement in general felt like everything was more significant.
Yeah, I felt smoother.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it was nice. There's new guns, obviously, as there is with like any Call of Duty.
They brought back like an ACR.
Yeah, I just hope that there's like another MP5 in the game. So when I go to Warzone, I can choose between the like 7 MP5s that they have now.
Oh goodness! Just use a new ACR. It's POG.
I think that's the ACR, but it's like a different name. It's like the MCW, but it looks like the ACR, and it kind of felt like it too.
If this is the first gun I felt where I'm all like, yes, she's back. Since Modern Warfare 2, back all the way in 09.
Yeah. Speaking of Modern Warfare 2 back in 09, all of its maps are back now. In the beta, we had Favela, Estate, Skid Row, and Rust.
We had to wait this long to get them back.
You were saying which map felt weird? You were saying Favela.
Okay, so I got some problems with Favela. Okay, first off, I want to give you out the good. Okay, give you all the good stuff. Estate, Skid Row, Rust feels exactly like it did before with some added places and little...
It's got the thumbs up of approval for the map.
It's got 2 thumbs up. It's great. Favela... I think the best way to describe it is I feel like they took a little too many liberties with it. And I get it, it's a favela and they want to but I didn't play on that or approach that the way I did in 2009. I played all the other ones the way I did.
Favela kind of confused me.
Favela wasn't confusing before.
Like I found my footing where I'm like, okay, I think I know where things are at, but like there's so many like little buildings you can go into and climb up on. And
it's too much. It's too much. You don't have to do that.
Pretty small map for how much there is of that too.
Listen, a lot of people think more is more. I say less is more. Okay, and you got too many spots in that one where I'm like, okay, I understand opening up like a building here, giving you some stairs over there, like a little mounting position, all that. That's fine. I'm all down with that. But like, I think visually, like in terms of aesthetics, and then also in terms of mechanics, like they added a little too much to that one. It's not bad. Like, quite frankly, I think that's better than the vast majority of the maps for Modern Warfare 2.
And those maps were great.
Not 2009, because I know this is very confusing. I'm trying to track
I
with
honestly
it too.
hate this, dude.
It's horrible. Like like I get
Modern
what they're
Warfare
doing.
2 was 2009, but Modern Warfare 1 2019, and then this one's 20. Yeah, it's like
I get what they're doing, but in a much more real sense, I don't get what they're doing.
it felt like Modern Warfare 2 2022. Okay, it felt like that was trying to do like a fresh version of like what Modern Warfare 2 2009 did. And then this Modern Warfare 3 is just 2009 Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes and no. And here's the thing, is that the good thing is that all the rest of the maps are reported to come back, which is good.
And the other
Can't wait to get back on that terminal.
And the other thing I'll say is
really excited about
this new beta from this weekend, they did also add high rise.
I love myself some high rise.
But this is just for PC and Xbox. Until the 14th? Saturday?
It's November, right?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the beta?
The beta.
The beta, that's this weekend. Yes, so that for those of you...
It opens up for all consoles on the 14th.
Yes.
But you can play right now, as of recording.
I mean, does it... Well, I mean...
They're getting really confusing.
See, Call of Duty has become... And this is a greater... Like, I guess we can kind of cap it off after this. But, like... Call of Duty in general has become such a pain to get into, in my opinion. It's like, okay, you download the beta, and then they're like, all right,
here's the Call of Duty app.
Here's Call of Duty. And I'm like, which one? And they're like, yes.
They're like, what have you downloaded?
I'm like, they're like, well, what you got? And I'm like, I want to play the beta for 3. And they're like, all right, we got your beta. I also see that you bought the first 2, right?
Do you want to
play those? Do you want a season pass? I noticed the last time you didn't get that one. You want it? And I'm like, dude, like, can I play the beta? And they're like, give us a second. And like loading up the beta. I'm like, what is all this?
Then you go to unskippable cutscene and it's like season whatever.
And they're like, zombies are coming back.
Zombies.
They're like, oh, sweet.
And Spawn. That was kind of tight.
And Spawn's cool.
Spawn's cool. Who doesn't like Spawn?
But I digress. I wish there was better menus and all that. But obviously they're investing into this whole menu ecosystem of It's
I don't know if it's like that for every COD though. I think it is.
It is, dude.
It is.
Because when you enter into Call of Duty now, it's like you enter into it and then there's like rows of the Call of Duty games that you can access through this app. And then there's columns within that you can like quick launch into certain things. You can like jump into like storefronts. And then there's your overarching like, okay, I can apply my global settings. I can mess around with like my name tag or whatever. It's really convoluted.
I think what we could say is it's got a bad GUI.
Yeah, it's got a bad GUI.
Really bad GUI.
Bad GUI.
It's not legible.
Yeah.
It is legible, but it's like you gotta like.
It's too much to ledge.
That is like really cluttered, the menu.
Yeah, they can work on that.
Once you're in the game, it's kind of all right though. Like once you're like.
You mean like when I'm actually playing?
Because
it's all right then.
No, once you're like in the right game set of menus within the menu of Call of Duty. Like when you're in the menu where
he's confusing himself.
When you're in the menu where you can choose your loadout and stuff, I think it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's actually pretty good.
It's incredibly decent.
The Call of Duty
would say.
What?
As a friend of mine would say, it's incredibly decent.
I mean, yeah, it works. It's legible enough, but like when you're in the Call of Duty, choosing which Call of Duty you're gonna play menu, it's bad.
I feel like when I boot that up, I'm like, okay, what are you trying to sell me? That's what it feels like. It feels like a storefront.
We had a buddy of ours download the beta, and then he showed up on our end in the store as though he pre-ordered the game already.
Yep.
And so there was a little kerfuffle there.
True story. He didn't buy it. He didn't pre-order it.
But he had to go back into that godforsaken freaking like menu in order to figure out that he didn't buy it.
Yeah, it's like walking into like a really convoluted mall. It's meant to confuse.
Anyway.
But you know what's not confusing?
I think it's confusing to some people still.
No, but you know what's not confusing?
What?
Is the concept of charting the stars. Of getting out there and experiencing the vastness of space. That's right. We're going to be talking about StarField, ladies and gentlemen. And we got some things to talk about with that one.
Yes.
You know, there's been some verses around this one. You know, some people are having some issues. We have another friend of ours that is having some problems with his PC.
Right. It's just update his
PC. A lot of troubleshooting. He just had to update his PC. And what I mean by that is...
but I have a graphics card from 2016, dude.
Your hardware is a little old, bro. This is a new game. For what it's worth, though...
This is a game pushing new graphics cards, like pretty far.
So there's a two-way with that one, and we won't get stuck on that too much. We want to talk about the game, but I think it does bear addressing in all seriousness. Todd Howard was quoted as saying that the game was optimized well for PC, and that it does run well. That's why they took that extra 9 months to polish it. And I do agree with this. It is hands down the most polished Bethesda Game Studios release, like on launch.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's a lot of little caveats, and there's a lot of... I think it's just by nature of navigating this whole PC gaming, in particular the PC. Like PC gaming, like resurgence that's occurred recently, where people have a lot of different configurations, hardware speaking. And there's a lot of little details, like in the notes of like what you need. So for instance, like we both had this problem where when we installed it, our PCs are pretty good. Like when we installed it, it would have issues with like loading up either textures, audio sequences.
It was stuttering a lot.
Stuttering left and right, and it was really frustrating because you're like, you said this was bug free, you said that this was polished. It doesn't feel like it.
Whenever I open the like character menu too, like the radio, like dude, it would take like a couple minutes.
Oh, dude, the menu took forever for me. I would open it up, and all the elements would one by one, and it was a problem. And we realized through our troubleshooting, because we were both bouncing back and forth, like, all right, let's troubleshoot this. What are you doing? What settings are you messing with? We're lowering things and all of that. And what we found was it's the hard drive that was the bottleneck. So we have like mass storage hard drives, and those have served pretty well
for like everything.
For like everything, like even new games like Baldur's Gate was fine. Like there's some loading. But like everything was fine. It would load up like in 5 seconds kind of thing. And then you're like good to go. You never have to deal with that again. But with StarField, and I submit it's just because there's so much data that's being streamed, and it's high quality.
And then it's like remembering too of like placement of items and all this stuff.
Where we're having that issue, and the second I installed it on like my NVMe like M2 drive, it was like butter.
Yeah, that was like pretty nuts, dude.
Yes,
that was a pretty like nuts.
It was a hooray moment because we're like, yes, it works, and so because of that, we're able to actually talk about what matters, which is the actual game. So, oh man, I'm glad we got that out of the way. Still with us? I hope you are too. So here's the thing. A lot of people are complaining that the game isn't what was advertised. We hear you, and we kind of disagree. I do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are like, I want to be able to like go into like almost like No Man's Sky style, like fly right into the planet, go right into the like. Todd never said that was going to happen. He goes, you can fly anywhere, yes. He didn't say you're going to fly into planets. And you can fly anywhere, and it's great. But everything is like, everything in the mechanics, I think, is exactly what they're advertising. And it works, I think, personally, exceptionally well. Because this is a Bethesda game first and foremost, and it feels like it.
Yeah, a lot of people's complaints, it feels like they wanted it to be like something that Bethesda doesn't really make. Like, they've never made what people have been like frustrated about.
Yeah.
Like they don't really make like simulate, because when you're talking about like being able to fly into the planet and fly to another planet within one solar system, like you tactically can do that actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out Alana Pierce. She actually did that.
7 hours to Pluto.
7 hours to Pluto. And it's just not like, it's not, what's the word? It's not conventional. Like, you're just not going to do that, and like, there's a podcast with Todd Howard and Lex Friedman where he talks about like even just like fuel. Like they were going to have it initially where your fuel's constantly running out. And if it runs out in space, you have to like send out an SOS, and like a good person can come, a bad person can come, all this stuff. And that's like, in my opinion, that's already leading more into like simulation territory of like some of these mechanics. And he's like, honestly, he's like, it's really cool. He's like, we got that stuff working, and like we were just really just testing it and seeing how it felt like in the whole scope of the game. And like, he's like, it just wasn't fun.
Yeah.
He's like, and it's also like not really in line with what we've ever really done with the game, because they make role-playing games. They don't make simulators, so people wanting to like fly into a planet and stuff like that, it's like, I understand that there's other games that do that very well, like No Man's Sky and stuff like that. Outer Wilds also does that.
If you want like a more hardcore like simulator,
like space simulator,
like actually like gravitational pulls, like actual mathematics behind it,
nuts with that.
Yeah,
Outer Wilds is nuts with that, but like, yeah, that's just not what Bethesda does. They never have. This is genuinely like a Skyrim in space, or like a Fallout in space.
And doesn't kind of beg the question, like for me at least, I'm like, okay, when I was playing Oblivion or Skyrim, like I did walk to places a lot the first time,
and then I teleported.
Then I would fast travel to like the nearest little area, and then I'd walk a bit and discover a few things.
Yeah, you're not walking across the whole map all the time.
Yeah, people are all like, "Oh man, like I gotta like."
That's what you're doing in StarField.
You're doing the same thing in StarField. You're fast traveling to a planet. You're landing at one of the handful of areas you can land at, and then you're like walking around, and you're like finding some points of interest. You're going to that cave or whatever it is. Like, I think it's great. In terms of the role playing, I think this is some of the better stuff that they've done, like since Oblivion.
In terms of gameplay?
In terms of the role playing, like you create a character, or you're playing a role, because there's certain things that you're experiencing that I solve differently. So my guy, he can talk really well. He's like an industrialist, but he also grew up in like Neon City, so he's got that like I'm from the streets kind of thing. And dude, like I've had so many moments where I'm like, that was really clever writing, or like I'm glad that I was able to like figure that out that way. Like, and then there's certain situations where you're in that were different. Where you're like, oh, I fought my way out of that one.
Fought my way out. I sneaked around and just stole. I've been stealing all the time.
I haven't stolen a thing. I'm a good boy.
I've been stealing all the time.
I've been buying everything. I've been grabbing everything, selling it, buying.
I've bought my fair share.
Yeah,
but I steal.
That's really his bread and butter.
I love stealing.
He likes to. He loves to steal. Character. What do you think of the? What do you think of the companions?
So I'm still like playing the game. I haven't like beaten it or anything. I think the characters are cool.
Yeah.
What do you call it? I think the characters are cool. In terms of companions, I like Vasco a lot. Obviously, he's like a robot. You know,
Who doesn't like robots?
he's simple. He enjoys the simple pleasures, really.
I mean, little simple robot pleasures.
Yeah, dude.
I like updating.
But so for me, and this is also like kind of to your point of like we've been playing the game differently. Like, I ended up because you start with the Sarah Morgan chick,
Yes.
and then for me, I got Andreja.
I like Andreja.
She's cool. And then I got Sam Coe. Okay. Now I've just been kind of swapping up to like the next companion whenever I get him because I'm like, why not? Let me see what they have to say. And I ended up going back to Sarah Morgan because me being a thief, dude, like she doesn't care what I do. Like she'll be following me around, sneaky. I steal something, not a peep.
She's like, nice.
I move on. I kill someone. She's like, moves on. Okay, Andreja, like there's a couple saves where like I killed someone because I'm like, I need to kill this person. They simply must die. And so I killed them, and she's like, I can't believe you did that. And she like ran away and left. And she literally left my companionship. And I'm like, okay, that was kind of annoying.
She's been really impressed with me because the people that need to die, I give them a way out.
Well, so no, I kill everything, dude.
If you kill me, I'm starting to get who you are.
And so I move on. I reloaded a save, and I'm like, okay, I guess I can't kill that person. And then I'm like stealing stuff, and she's like, you're gonna put that back, right? Like, you should put that back. And she's like, always has a comment for freaking everything I do. Okay. Then I get Sam Coe. Okay, and this is where I ended up swapping it back because this guy was driving me freaking nuts.
Well, like Sam No.
Okay. He's like, yeah, I'm a spacer ranger, cowboy guy. Like I fight with on the side of the law, but I'm an outlaw, and like, you know, sometimes you got to break the law. And like, I'm like, all right, cool. Like this guy's probably chill, you know, he's alright. And then I go on and like I kill someone, and he like freaks out and leaves also. And I'm like, okay, so I reload my save. Then I'm stealing, and he's just accosting me the entire time as I'm like stealing stuff, and I'm like, this is annoying as hell.
As you should, you're stealing.
When I really lost it, and this isn't even like at this point, this doesn't really have anything to do with like those aspects of it. Is I was doing the Ryujin Industries like missions, and I'm not going to get into the whole story of all that. You know, people are probably playing it or haven't done it. I know you haven't done it yet.
No,
but they have me doing a lot of deeds. Okay, and he's number one commenting through the entire thing. Okay, I'm like talking with like the CEO of the company, and I'm like saying stuff agreeing with like some of their corporate nefarious deeds and stuff like that. And he'll just like chime in the middle of the conversation and be like, well, that's why like the corporations are horrible, you know, they're always breaking it down. And I'm like, shut up.
Sometimes they need to kill and steal, okay?
I'm like, shut up, I'm trying to get a promotion.
No one understands that more than I do.
Okay, so he's doing all that, but this is where it goes. Okay, this is the one that really grinded my gears. Is I'm going on this mission where they needed me to get into a place, and they gave me like I couldn't kill anyone, so they gave me a weapon to like neutralize people. And I'm going through this building, and I'm like actually having to like almost like in a thief game, like hide around corners and stay out of like line of sight and all this different stuff, like watch pathing. And it was actually really cool. What I didn't do was have Sam, because I didn't think it would be a problem. Like people don't really react to them. Like I've noticed, like if I get across and no one sees me and he runs across right in front of them, like they don't really react to that.
Yeah.
And they don't. Okay, but what happened was I thought it would be fine, and I just had him follow me. But dude, like, I'm like going through this building, and he's talking like full volume, like all the time. So I'm like getting like nervous on edge because I just hear like a voice right next to me. And I'm like, oh, it's fucking Sam, dude. Okay, that's going on. But what really got me was like one of the dudes saw me for a second, and he like pulled out his gun, and then I neutralized him, and he's on the floor.
You killed him.
And he's out. And then Sam Coe freaking pops in, and he's like now in combat. And so he's just shooting at this guy on the floor, like waking him back up. Then I like stun him again, and I hide in a room, and I'm like, okay, like let me just like hide and let the like the alert go down. And literally like I ended up like concealing myself where they didn't see me at all. They didn't know I was in the building. They weren't hunting for me. And Sam Coate's freaking outside the door, just like wreaking mayhem. I hear grenades going off. I hear him like just shooting everywhere. And it was like driving me nuts. And I ended up like ruining that whole thing. I had to like reload the whole save and all that. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like, I'm getting you out as soon as I can, dude. And I swap back to Sarah Morgan because she doesn't say anything. She's awesome, dude. For my playthrough, she's awesome.
She's got great skills too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my experience with the characters so far.
Wow.
Like long and short, not so short, but like,
I mean, they're all pretty righteous.
yeah, but the point I'm getting at too is like, or one of the things I'm trying to like illustrate is it's like the characters on first glance, I'd say like for most of these FromSoft games, like Bethesda games, at first glance, like I felt like they were kind of boring. Like design wise and whatever, they're a little generic at times. But as you like spend time with them and stuff, like they really do react very interestingly based off of the way you're playing and stuff like that. And so like their character starts to shine through with that. And that's something that like, you know, they've always done that kind of stuff. Like obviously it's like a role-playing game, like Skyrim you have companions, Fallout 4 you have companions. All these games you can have like companions to some extent. But like this one was definitely like all of that like a lot more realized, you know? And like I think there is something to say too about how like generic they felt at first to like how much they show their character when you like follow them or they follow you around rather.
Like a lot of them will like, if you're kind of to your point earlier, where I've had a lot of experiences where I'm having a conversation with someone and then they're like jumping into the conversation too.
Yeah.
I actually like that. I actually like the fact that it like feels like I'm walking around with a companion. They're like, no, we need to watch out for that. Or like, you know, did you know this little factoid about this faction? I think the coolest thing that I've experienced so far with StarField has been just the way that these quests do play out. Because there's been, and it reminds me a lot of Oblivion with this, where there's been a lot of times where I'm like talking to someone about a quest and they're like, yeah, I need you to go and check this thing out. Like, would you do that for me? Whatever. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll go check that out. And then as I'm walking, I'll hear like two people like, yeah, so did you hear about like, you know, this guy that's got this thing going on? And I'm like, that sounds kind of interesting. I kind of stop for a second and then like I get a quest for that. And that happens a lot where I'm like, wow, they really did stuff like so much into this game, but it does serve to build out the world more. Yeah. Because I do find it really like intriguing and I find it very, I find it pretty provocative the way that they went about building out this world because it does, like you mentioned, it was something like space punk or NASA punk.
NASA punk was like the name of the aesthetic that they were
like, this creating. Whole aesthetic, like it's, I know it's a sci-fi game and it's got all of that going for it, but it does feel pretty like plausible. Where I'm like, yeah, like this is kind of like how things would pan out. Like there still would be like cowboys and there still would be like these frontiersmen and there would be like these people that are like, oh yeah, like I'm from the city and you know this is how we do things, you know, like there's like a whole area that's like, it's granted completely different, but it does feel like their little version of like a little night city from like Cyberpunk or something. It's I like the way that they went about that and I like the way that they build out the world with all of this stuff. Because like the quests, the way that they pop up, like all the things you can do, the places you can explore, like they do feel like really lived in, you know? So I like that. I love the combat too. That's another one. Like I think that the gunplay does feel like pretty top notch personally.
I think it feels really good. And again, like looking at Bethesda and what they do, like this is some of the best like gunplay combat they've ever done. You know, people complain about it not feeling like Call of Duty. And I'm like, just like you can't fly into the planet, like Call of Duty is there for like that kind of gunfighting. Yeah. Like this is the best they've done. You know, Fallout 4 was a huge step up from Fallout 3 and this isn't like even bigger step up. Like it feels really tight. The guns feel unique. Like I don't know what else I could be asking for with like what the game is, who it's from, and what they're actually providing to begin with. You know, like they advertised it pretty straightforward, and I think that's like weirdly worked out to their detriment because a lot of people were like, well, if they're showing this, like, and the imagination starts running wild, and it's like, but that's not necessarily like what they've ever done. And like honestly, like everything they've shown, like I've seen in the game that I can do mechanically. No. They said there's going to be 0G, there's 0G. They said there's a booster pack, I got that.
0G combat's fun.
They say I can fly my ship, I can do that. Build it, I can do that too. You know, it all works. You know, it all works really well. And I think to your point of the it being like Oblivion, I think the clearest example I can give of that is it's like in Skyrim, you join like a faction, and it's like do the quest, and anything you do to anyone else around the quest or surrounding the quest or whatever, like doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Like do whatever you want with them. Whereas like in Oblivion, you join the Thieves Guild, like you can't kill anyone anywhere while you're doing those missions.
Yeah.
Because you're like following the Thieves Code. And like while I was doing the Ryujin Industries, it was actually pretty similar, where they're like, you know, you get in trouble with the law and all of that, and like that's gonna come back to us. So like don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
And so now I'm incentivized to like, if I want to do something stupid, like don't get caught. You know, and it's like, but that goes like for everything I'm doing. So then I started getting like really careful with like even like contraband that I had on my plane or my ship. My plane, dude.
I messed up with that one too.
Yeah, I messed up with that once, and I got another quest from it. But
I've got, like, I'm that's where I left off. Is I've got this whole thing that happened because of the contraband. I'm like, you want me to do what?
Yeah. I walked away from that and like did some other stuff when I still have to do that.
It definitely rewards like just exploring it. Like don't. And which is again reminds me of like Oblivion. Like Oblivion, they're like, oh, you gotta like close these gates and yada yada yada. And I'm like, all right, cool, but what's over there? And then you get caught up on the side quest here, and they're like, I don't know, you know. And that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think in terms of like music and story, I think the music's basically like it's Fallout music without. I actually don't think the music's that. I think it's really good. It suits what it is. I don't think it's their best music by any stretch.
I don't think it's like super iconic.
Yeah, like
except for that main theme.
The menu theme's really, really like memorable. But like a lot of the music just feels like the Fallout music when Fallout wasn't doing like American standard stuff to like, you know, add some flavor. Which made me realize, I'm like, dude, Fallout doesn't really have that great music either. It's just like
it's the stuff
menu theme and then all the like radio stations you're putting on. You're like getting your vibe. You're just like you're just scatting across the Commonwealth or whatever. Yeah, the
wastelands.
So that's one thing I'll say. Like the music, like it's good. It suits what it's doing, but it's. I think the Elder Scrolls games definitely have like some of the best music they've ever done.
Yeah.
Story, I think, is really intriguing. I actually didn't expect it to be intriguing, but you know, like the main story at least, because like the main story is like.
It just feels like a vehicle.
Yeah, it's a vehicle to keep you going from place to place, and it's intriguing enough where you're like, what is going on with this? And like, you know, what are these things? And what is... And you kind of just keep going along it, but then you end up finding other locations, and they take you to like different cities, and then from there it branches. Yeah, from there it branches out to these different faction quests, and
it's fun walking around and hearing people talk, and
the world definitely feels lived in. When you're in like a city and stuff, it feels very alive, which is like really tight. You know, it's really, really tight. Building. You didn't build at all, did you?
I haven't gone to that yet.
I haven't built either. I've built my ship.
The building in the ship, that was fun.
I've built my ship.
Yeah, it's I got to spend more time with that before I can speak to it some more, but you know, I like what's there. I have to spend more time with it because I found it to be a little cumbersome, the building, until I started understanding a little more. Like, okay, this is how these things.
There's
fit
definitely
together.
a little curve to it.
Yeah,
like
there's a little curve to it. I don't think it's outrageous, and I think that the function it serves and the form, because there's like an aspect of like the way that it looks and stuff. I think that's really cool, you know. And I like the way that you can like, I add on certain things, and I go into my ship and it reflects. But I'd have to spend more time with the building and stuff.
I think the thing I'll say is I think I've spent a little bit more timing with it than you. I think the one thing I'll say about the shipbuilding is you can't control where each like pod or each hub like or hab, you can't control where the doors are like at all. And people have found their little ways of trying to like guide it to be there, but it just kind of like paths your ship however.
Yeah. And
dude, like that's driven me kind of nuts a few times where I'm like, I'm expanding my ship more and more, and then it's got me like, just to get to this room over here, I have to go through this like snake of like rooms because the doors don't open up the way that they should. Like it just kind of chooses what pathing to do on the inside of your ship, and it's like it's just annoying, dude. It's just annoying, but you know, it's just part of the whole mechanic. The mechanic's like actually pretty fleshed out with all the different parts to it.
And I'm sure they're going to keep fleshing it out. I mean, they're spending some time updating it, and
they added FOV sliders.
Yeah, we got sliders. We wanted those.
We got the FOV.
So that's good. But overall, yeah, I'm still going to spend more time with it. I'll probably have some more things to say as we go along. You know, counter things of note we'll mention on the cast and stuff. But yeah, Starfield. I mean, check it out. It's
If you like Bethesda stuff,
you got Games Pass. That's
if you've
an
got
easy
Games
one.
Pass, like you got no excuse.
Yeah, just get in there.
Just download, boot it up.
See for yourself.
But if you don't have Games Pass and you like Bethesda games,
Still buy it.
I'd check it out. Honestly,
I'd say check it out.
It's a Bethesda game. You'll enjoy it.
But yeah, so then that leads us to just a quick what we're up to, and then we'll close out for today.
Yeah, that concludes on the games.
Yeah, that's been on the games. What you been up to?
I've been playing Final Fantasy VI. It's been fun. It's been a good time. I never played that game. I am playing the Pixel Perfect remaster. That's what it's called, right? Pixel remaster.
Pixel remaster.
I added,
Pixel Perfect.
I added a word. It's great. I don't think there's much to say there. I mean, it's Final Fantasy VI. It's a pretty old game.
Yeah,
I have it like cracked out though with all the boosts because I don't care about combat.
Now ask me what I've been up to.
What have you been up to, bud?
I've been playing Final Fantasy VI as well. It's I got it cracked up as well. Boosted everything because I just want to see what the story's about.
Yeah.
Gameplay's fun. Apart from that, just been getting back to drawing, getting back to myself, and producing and creating and stuff. But it's been good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this has been nice.
This has been nice.
This
It's
has
been
been
a pretty
nice.
short what we're up to, but we're not really up to much this week apparently.
Yeah. No, we're still working things out. It's good. I'm gonna keep moving around and experimenting with the section because we have some ideas of what we do with it.
And I don't know if you guys noticed the table. It's this way now.
Yeah, it's going this way instead of this way.
It's this way.
At one point, it was like this, and that was weird.
We were too far.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to talk, but I can't connect.
Yeah.
You
had to
So
kind
we-
of raise your voice a little bit
have to
just for it to get across.
socially undistance ourselves.
Yes.
Well, this has been Two Souls. This has been a good time.
Episode 1.
Yeah,
Two
episode
Souls.
1 of Two Souls, and it's been really good. We've been thankful to have you guys here. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Also, like and subscribe, and, comment. Maybe we comment back.
You're already there.
If you're already there, it's just a few clicks away.
Yeah.
What's stopping you, really?
Yeah. What is stopping you? What is stopping you?
There's nothing stopping you.
Just click the buttons.
But this has been good.
It's been good. It's been good.
And it was good.